Barcelona, 1992. The start of Dimas' 12-year Olympic journey. In the hours leading up to the evening's competition, he and the other athletes in the 82.5A session are dutifully weighing in. Although none of them yet know it, what happens in these moments, as each lifter steps on the scale and has his weight recorded, will play a decisive role in the day's competition. Moreover, it will set one among them on the path to becoming a legend.
I remember there were 3 referees at weigh-ins. There was 1 Russian, 1 Polish, and 1 British ref. When I stepped onto the scale, I was breathing somewhat quickly, and my weight was fluctuating. The electronic scale was showing somewhere between 81.85 and 81.8 kilos. The Russian and the Polish refs agreed to put me down at 81.85 kilos. But thankfully, the English referee had another opinion. He told me to get off the scale, to calm the rhythm of my breathing, and then to get back on the scale.
For those of us who aren't Olympic caliber athletes, which is just about everyone, it can be difficult to fathom the reality of competing in the Games. Yet most of us, especially those who've ever made a run at athletic glory, have ideas about the Olympics, often informed by very specific early memories of them.
I remember athletes on TV, so Mary Lou Retton, Gail Devers. That's who I think of when I think of the Olympics.
Watching Marion Jones track and field, and just watching Lolo Jones' story.
I was first introduced to the Olympics probably when I was like 5, 6, watching videos of my father, and that's how I knew the Olympics. But the first actual live Olympics that I did watch was '96.
Dimas, too, has his first memories of the Olympics. He may have ended up a 4-time Olympic medalist and legend, but before any of that, he was, like so many of us, just another athlete working toward a dream.
Do you remember watching the '76 Olympics?
No. I saw for the first time in Seoul Olympic Games live in TV.
Oh, really?
Yes. And not from the
Not on Albanian television, of course, since it was prohibited, but my brother had made an antenna with which we watched TV channels broadcast from Yugoslavia. That's how we were able to watch the Olympic Games.
Aside from saying something about the worldwide appeal of the Olympics, this anecdote also hints at how the geopolitical situation played into Dimas' own athletic journey. It was his move to Greece following the opening of the Albanian border that ultimately provided him with the resources to become an Olympic champion. But this story can also reveal just how important the Games are in a way that for Americans, who tend to think of Olympic athletes only once every 4 years, is difficult to understand. For many countries, the Olympics, and the chance for even just one medal, can be tied to a sense of nationalism or identity that is very different from the cycle of forgetting that characterizes the usual response from American viewers.
In Armenia and Russia, the Olympics is all year long. Everyone's always talking about the Olympics. But here it's like a couple of months before the Olympics and maybe a couple of weeks after the Olympics, and then no one cares about the Olympics. Over there, they start training for the Olympics.
Despite this importance, our narratives about the Olympics rarely include what is perhaps their most critical aspect: luck. Athletes like Dimas, who have experienced the Games firsthand, do recognize this, and an awareness of luck coexists with their awe. This is not to downplay the significance of effort and work. There are, of course, many things within an athlete's control. Here, for example, is Dimas talking about training and the planned approach to building toward the Olympic Games, which was a critical part of his success.
There was a written program planned out month to month. The coach planned it from the beginning of the year, from January, say, to August, when the Olympic Games would take place. Generally, the program is not planned day to day. Of course, the athlete must complete his daily schedule based on how he feels physically or psychologically. Although the coach may have set a target or a program that tells the athlete will lift 210 kilos, for instance, maybe on a day that you can't even lift 200 kilos. So in that instance, the 210 kilogram program doesn't even exist.
So you follow a program, a plan, and continuous efforts until the Olympic Games. But the program refers to 100% of the particular day. Even if the coach has set a target of 210 kilos and you manage only 200 kilos, you have accomplished your 100% performance of that day.
And then, particularly for a competition that comes as rarely as the Olympics, there is training intelligently and making sure you and your coach are doing things to avoid injuries and pushing yourself too hard. Again, this was something Dimas stressed.
Sometimes the opposite may happen. You feel much better and you manage more than the limit that's set by the coach. The coach simply writes some numbers. For example, he writes 210 in the jerk, just for some guidance. If you reach a little above or a little below, it doesn't matter. What is important is the right training with the correct lifting. Each month is different. And just as a car cannot go with the accelerator pressed to the floor constantly, so too, the athlete cannot be constantly pushed to the same limits. Some months are difficult and others are more relaxed.
But not only do you need to work hard and to have talent and the right coaching, you need to hit your athletic stride at precisely the right times during the 4-year cycle, and you need the resources and infrastructure to make the journey even remotely feasible. In short, you need a ton of luck. Time and again, Dimas mentioned how lucky he felt for having supportive coaches, for having just the right training at the right time, for having the dream team, for having his family, and perhaps most importantly, for lifting in a country where Olympic gold medal performances by weightlifters were so highly celebrated. This is not always the case. The U.S.'s Norbert Szymanski, who won 4 Olympic medals during his storied career, was virtually unknown to most Americans, even during his prime. So although Dimas was keen to note that he trained hard and took care of the details, it's worth remembering that the details took care of him as well. The Olympics demand this, luck and preparation, and attention to detail, yet they offer no guarantees. And as much as we celebrate the Olympics, it's wholly unfair to consider them the sole litmus test of an athlete's abilities.
Many athletes might not have won many medals, but there were different times or different conditions or different motives. There are many things that make a great athlete. You cannot compare athletes based only on the number of medals they've won throughout their careers.
Consider, for example, that if you happened to be a top athlete in the West in the late 1970s, there was a good chance you totally lost your shot at Olympic glory, thanks to President Carter's decision to boycott the 1980 Games in Moscow. The athletes selected for that year are still honored as Olympians in the U.S., but they were deprived the chance to actually compete on the world's biggest stage. And the same thing happened to many Soviet athletes 4 years later, when the USSR boycotted the 1984 Olympics in LA. Or, to take a more recent example, consider the athletes from Russia who were banned from competing at the 2016 Games in Rio. Yet for those few athletes who do make it to the Olympics, the tiny percentage of what is already a select group, the experience is surreal.
For me, the 1992 Olympics were magical. Not only because I got my first gold medal, but because it was my first time competing at the Olympics. It was something absolutely magical. The Olympics is the dream of every athlete. The great thing at that time was that nobody knew of me, so I didn't feel that pressure I felt participating in subsequent Olympics. Later, I felt that pressure, the pressure of the nation, of friends, the whole world to perform well. Although you try to isolate yourself from this, not to think about it, you're going through a test every day with this kind of pressure. I think that of all the Olympics I've participated in, Barcelona was the most special for me. Maybe because it was the first Olympic Games I'd ever competed in, but overall, I just feel like they were the best Olympics ever.
την έχω σαν την καλύτερη Ολυμπιάδα από όλες.
It was honestly like a dream. Like I don't remember a lot of things. I was like, wow, like this is it. Like this, I made it. Like this is the biggest stage, you know. For weightlifting, this is as far as you can go. And I was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it, you know. And then when I went on my first attempt, I'll never forget it. I went up on the stage and like I just saw the crowd, and I was just like, wow, like just cameras and the stage. It was so bright, like it's crazy. It's hard to even describe. Like I don't have many words for it because it was just such a crazy experience. And I remember I had no feel for the weights whatsoever. Like every weight felt the same. I was so nervous. I've never been so nervous in my life. Like I thought I was like an experienced weightlifter, you know. But the Olympic stage is different. It really is. And I have so much more respect for all Olympians that are able to perform well at the Olympics.
When Cheryl won her medal, like I just remember how young she was. And so when she got her bronze medal, I was like, this just happened at the first Olympic Games for women. Cheryl just got a bronze medal. That was incredible. It sticks out. Like I remember the light blue background, her smile, you know, the little braids, like French braids. And then I remember Tara getting her medal at the Adidas house later because of the positive drug test. So she got the silver on the main stage, and then when the positive drug test showed up and the gold medalist was booted, then there was a ceremony at the Adidas house. Tara got her gold medal, and we all just kind of had a moment together up on the stage to celebrate it, kind of talk about it, and it was incredible. It was like, well, this is history. It's happening right now once again. And again, I just feel like I felt fortunate just to be a part of this company of incredible women.
There's an interesting tension here. We ascribe an importance to the Olympics that seems to downplay or ignore the serendipity involved in making it to them. In few other arenas are athletes so highly celebrated, or are violations of the supposed sanctity of sportsmanship taken so seriously. For example, in Dimas's weight class in Barcelona in 1992, when the bronze medalist Ibrahim Samadov of the unified team set his medal down on the podium in protest of his placement, determined by body weight, he was subsequently banned for life by the IOC. So the big question, how did those weigh-ins in Barcelona in 1992 end up?
Eventually, when I stepped back on the scale, the number was stable and I weighed in at 81.8 kilos. In Barcelona, 3 of us totaled 370 kilos, so 3 of us could claim a gold medal total. But the Russian athlete was 50 grams heavier than me, and the Polish athlete, although he weighed the same as me, lifted the total of 370 kilos after I had done it. This meant that I was in first place.
Thank the British guy?
Yes, many times.
For Dimas, everything aligned. The training, the preparation, the coaching, the circumstances, and of course, luck. Everything worked just right. And like any good weightlifter, when the competition was over, he knew just how to celebrate. By eating.
In the Olympic Village, there were also some refrigerated kiosks selling ice cream, Coca-Cola, juice, really whatever you'd like. I stood next to one of the kiosks with ice cream and ate all of it.
Dimas had certainly earned all the ice cream he wanted that night. Thanks to his preparation, as well as for reasons all their own, the gods of Olympus had smiled on him. Through 2 more Olympic cycles, they would continue to do so, before ultimately turning their gaze on someone else. But that is a story for next time.